Hello and welcome to this presentation of the Employee Handbook. My name is Jerry Clemmer and I'm the General Manager, and I am going to be walking you through this tour with quizzes in between and a test at the very end. So please pay close attention and let me be the first to welcome you to the University of Richmond.
Hi, I'm Dee Hardy, the Director of Food and Auxiliary Services. It's also my pleasure to welcome you as a member of the Dining Services team. Dining Services has a vital role in serving our students, faculty, fellow staff, and campus guests. In order for you to be successful in your work, it's important you understand our mission and key values. Our mission reads, University of Richmond Dining Services is committed to providing each and every individual with exemplary services, outstanding quality food, with a passion and a commitment to excellence. This combination of words was created by more than a dozen of our food services team and specifically relates to the expectations we have regarding how you do your job. We use the words passion and commitment because we expect you to care about the quality of your work and provide us with your very best efforts. We use the terms exemplary service, outstanding quality food, and excellence because we expect our food to be the best anywhere. Good is nice, but great is what we want to provide. In service, we are committed to not just serving our customers, but giving them a positive and memorable dining experience that goes beyond what you might expect at another food operation. And last but not least, we say each and every individual, because everyone we serve is important and deserves top quality service and food. Our guests have been and can be your fellow employees, local and state officials, or even celebrities and world leaders. You never know who you may be serving. At the dedication of Jebsen Hall, the first National School of Leadership Studies in the United States, we had a day filled with catering needs. I was helping the team at the reception following the dedication when a man slipped behind my buffet station. I was just about to politely ask him to move from the service area when I realized it was the keynote speaker, Norman Schwarzkopf, the general in charge of Desert Storm, who was looking for a spot to get away from the crush of the crowd. So you just never know who you may be helping. It might be that that custom-made omelet you just made and served with a smile was for the future President of the United States, just in time that she does well on her graduate school entry exam. And it really could be the way you did your job that made the difference. So please pay attention as our talented staff provides you with key information on how to be successful as a member of the Dining Services team.
Our appearance projects how clean, neat, and professional we are as a staff. From the moment you arrive on campus, you are representing this university. We must be ready to look professional for the day ahead. Remember, our guests are not aware whether or not we are clocked in or not. Therefore, we must always look as if we were. All right, now I'm going to explain the dress code. The university will provide chefs, sous chefs, leads, and line attendants a hat and 5 white chef jackets. For the line attendants, you'll also have 5 black aprons, all free of charge, and we give them to you each August. The university requires employees to wear either black jeans, black slacks, or a black skirt. For the utility employee, the university will provide 1 hat and 5 red polo shirts. Everyone must also wear black shoes with non-skid soles that must be cleaned and polished. Red Wing shoe stores are our preferred vendor and visit twice a year at orientations in both August and January. You may purchase shoes from the Red Wing shoe truck through payroll deduction at a maximum of 2 pairs of shoes. The total amount will be deducted from your paycheck in 3 equal payments. The university also requires that you wear a name tag at all times while working. Only the university-issued name tag is permitted to be worn, and if you lose it, unfortunately, there is a replacement cost of $5. A little more about the pants. All pants or slacks must be properly fit and worn at the waist with a belt that have belt loops. Your uniforms are to be clean, wrinkle-free, and kept in good condition. Dining Services allows sweatshirts, solid color cardigans, or turtlenecks to be worn with your uniform for additional warmth when necessary, but only the sweatshirts that are issued to you. Please limit jewelry to a small post or small hoop earrings, no dangles, and only one wristwatch or ring per hand. No decorative jackets, cover-ups, cowl neck, sweaters, or coats are to be worn, along with miniskirts, sleeveless, backless garments, leg warmers, sweatpants, jogging suits, stirrup pants, decorative ties, and belts are not to be worn. Also, open-toed or open black shoes, sandals, canvas, cloth, or high-heeled shoes are not permitted, and necklaces and bracelets are not allowed either. No sunglasses are to be worn while working indoors. And lastly, no pins or buttons of any type except university-approved items are to be worn. If your uniform is deemed inappropriate by your supervisor, you will be asked to go home and change and promptly return back to work, and you will receive 1 attendance point and be listed as tardy. The following health requirements play an important role in the prevention of food contamination. Complete adherence to all of these policies is required. In dealing with the preparation and service of the food, proper hair restraints are required. These consist of university-issued hats, hairnets, beard restraints, and clothing that cover the body hair. Long hair touching the shoulders or difficult to contain must be tied back up and must be covered with a hairnet, and no hair should exceed hanging from the face. Beard guards must be worn when beards exceed 1/4 inch in length. Hair grooming articles are not to be worn as decorative hair items. Hair glitter is prohibited. Associates are responsible for providing their own hairnets, or one may be purchased from a manager for 25 cents. Smoking, eating gum, smokeless tobacco, and toothpicks are prohibited while on duty. Eating and drinking are restricted to the dining room only, with the following exceptions. Production staff who are required to taste test produced products using a test spoon. An employee may have a covered dining services issued mug at their station to quench their thirst. And as a courtesy to your coworkers and patrons, please avoid excessive uses of fragrances, including perfumes and colognes. Report colds, illnesses, skin infections, and the like to your supervisor. Any kind of sores or cuts and abrasions of your hands, arms, face, or neck must be covered with a bandage, and gloves must be worn if you handle food products or clean serviceware. A first aid kit is available in the production manager's office.
When you're working in the kitchen, you're using your hands an awful lot. And the Virginia State Department is pretty clear about making sure that you keep your nails clean, trimmed, and that you don't wear any nail polish. You certainly don't wear any fake nails. The length should be no more than 3/8 of an inch long, and that's going to benefit you as well.
Because your hair is full of bacteria, you should never comb your hair or put your hairnet on in the production area, and after doing so, you should always wash your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds.
When you're testing your foods in the back and you're cooking, we have tasting spoons, and sometimes, you know, you get a small bowl and take a little sample out and taste it, but don't take your finger and dip it and put it in your mouth. Something drop on the floor, don't throw it back in your product you're making.
It's important to follow proper hand washing when you arrive at work, after you use the restroom, after smoking, before putting on plastic gloves, and between handling fresh and soiled utensils. You should wash them with soapy water for 20 seconds, rinse them thoroughly, and make sure you dry them thoroughly as well.
Well, you have to change plastic gloves every 4 hours when you come from breaks or from the bathroom or from changing something. And you wear plastic gloves to avoid contamination and food poisoning, and just for safety precautions for the consumer.
All associates are expected to report to work on time for their scheduled work shifts. This means being dressed for work and in your work area at the assigned starting time. Associates are expected to punch in only after being dressed appropriately for work and depositing personal belongings in the locker room. The only exception to this policy is in the opening shift. Associates are also expected to punch out before collecting belongings from the locker or changing clothes at the completion of their shift. Lockers are provided for the storage of personal belongings. Books, handbooks, homework, newspapers, catalogs, and such reading materials are to be left in your locker, and the cashier area is not an exception. The dining services prefers that employees not bring backpacks, large sums of money, or valuable items to work, and the university will not be responsible for the loss of any such items at work. The university has the right to inspect all packages, satchels, bags, and parcels upon entering and exiting the building, and periodic checks may be conducted. No food or university property is to be taken from the work unit. The only exception being monthly birthday suites, associates awards, or approved associate purchases. Any unauthorized removal of food or other property is grounds for immediate dismissal. Employees must enter and exit through the front of the building only and not the back. Employees are prohibited from using the guest restrooms in the lobby. Employees may only use the employee restroom or the guest restrooms in the back in case of an emergency. Counters, tables, and equipment in any area are not to be used for sitting, standing, or leaning. Each employee is given 2 10-minute approved breaks for an 8-hour shift. Employees may use this time to rest in the dining rooms, go to the restrooms, or smoke. By the way, only in the loading dock in the back of the building may we smoke. Campus purchases are to be conducted on your breaks before clocking in or after clocking out. Please request and retain your receipt from the purchases. Store all purchases in your locker until the end of your shift when possible. Associates are not to leave the facility while working or while on break without notifying a manager and clocking out. Personal telephone calls may be made only on approved break times unless scheduled with your supervisor. All calls are to be made on the employee personal cell phone or limited calls on the public access phone at the computer station, and please limit those calls to 5 minutes. Access to public computers is limited to break times or before and after your shift. Employees are required to follow the university's guidelines for computer use when using campus computers and to return the chairs to their proper position under the counter. Do not give out the unit's telephone number for personal business. Personal pagers, cell phone devices, and MP3 players with headphones must be stored in lockers at all times and may only be used on breaks and in approved areas before or after your shift. All postings of advertisement or educational literature on university property require the general manager's approval. Staff will be called to the telephone only in case of an emergency. We reserve the right to direct personal calls to your home if calls become excessive. Please notify anyone who has access to the unit's telephone number to be honest in the nature of the call. Emergency calls will be routed through managers whenever possible. Visitors, like friends or relatives, are not allowed in any work area and should not arrive more than 15 minutes prior to the end of your shift. If any exceptions need to be made, please see your manager. Employees who visit the units on their days off are required to pay the staff rate for meals. Family members and guests of employees are always required to pay for meals. Associates should not be at their work unit on their days off before or after their shifts unless picking up a paycheck or purchasing a meal as a customer. Non-scheduled staff and or guests entering the dining center must report to the cashier. Access to all service areas, including back of the house and dining rooms, is restricted to scheduled staff only. All associates are expected to be considerate of all other employees, supervisors, managers, and customers. It is expected that you will conduct yourself in a dignified, quiet manner at all times. Abusive or vulgar language is inappropriate and will not be tolerated. Physical displays of any kind are unacceptable at work, and running and horseplay are also not permitted. Staff working directly with the public should be courteous to all customers, treating them with respect and in a professional manner. Negative presentation of food or dining service operation is strictly prohibited, and any associate who sees or knows of any food product problem or inappropriate behavior problem should report it to a supervisor immediately. Staff members are expected to stay in their assigned areas and are not to use the public service area for socializing, which interferes with the quality of our customer service. Congratulations on becoming a member of the University Dining Services team. The University of Richmond takes pride in its dining service department, and it's the people, you, who make a difference to keep our high standards and keep constant professionalism always in our environment. We have three main objectives. First is to provide our consumers with friendly and courteous service. Secondly, to provide a clean, efficient, and responsive dining services program. And finally, to serve quality, tastefully prepared foods that are always presented well. Your pleasant, cooperative assistance is required to meet these objectives. And by joining the dining services team, you accepted the responsibility of fulfilling all the rules and regulations that we're going to talk about in this video. So, as a team, we take great pride in the overall service to the university community, and our key goal is that every customer, whether they be a student, staff member, fellow employee, or just a visitor from the outside, are treated with the utmost respect and courtesy. The customer service program that we follow is called the Spider Service Steps. It's sort of a play off of the fact that a spider has 8 legs, so we have 8 main guidelines to go by whenever providing customer service. First is something that is so natural and so easy. Smile and make eye contact with the guest, especially when they're within 5 feet away. They will feel that you are recognizing them as they come up to the line and that they will get customer service. Second, greet our guests with a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Try not to use slang. Try not to say what's up or hey or how are ya. It sounds more professional when you use better terms. Third, greet the guest with their name if possible. Make an effort to remember them in some way. When you have students that have been here all year, it's important that they feel like they are always going to be recognized when they come. So using their name is very important. Fourth, be sure that you know exactly what is on your station that you're serving. You should know the ingredients in anything, so you want to be able to say or explain what the featured items are. Fifth, always allow a guest to walk or speak before you. We have to hold a very humble and low-key presence in the dining services area. So we don't want to walk in front of anybody, knock their tray out of their hands, or make them feel like they have to avoid us. Sixth, you can always say yes to a guest, but you have to ask permission to say no. You're empowered to make decisions that benefit the guest. You don't have to always go and ask a manager for permission to do the right thing. We want you to do it on your own. Seventh, make a guest feel great about their food choices. Sometimes a customer may take a risk in trying a different type of food. It may be a different country that we're featuring, or it may be just a different type of item altogether. And when they take that risk of trying new foods, then we need to congratulate them and make them feel like they've done the right thing. And finally, eighth, is to make eye contact with that guest again when they're walking away and say thank you and enjoy your meal. Our Spider Service Steps are featured 1 per week. So when you come into the building, try to look on the board and see what the Spider Service Step is that week. And in our pre-shift meetings, you could be rewarded if you remember it with Spider Service Bucks.
Hi, I'm Margaret Bethune, line manager at U of R Heilman Center. And we're here today to talk about employee standards of conduct. Certain standards of performance and conduct must be maintained in any work group. We will now be reviewing some reasons that may warrant disciplinary action. Any item of prohibited conduct as defined in the university policy statement on standards of conduct, penalties, and disciplinary procedures. Failure to observe posted rules and regulations. Drinking or being under the influence of alcohol or the possession of alcohol on university property. Unlawful use or possession of a controlled substance on the job or while performing work off-site. The university has a zero-tolerance policy in effect. Gambling in any form on university property. Refusal to accept the instructions of authorized supervisors, including failure to perform assigned work, insubordination, disobedience, giving physical or mental resistance to authority or work direction, sleeping on the job, careless performance of duties, including continued failure to maintain reasonable workmanship, productivity, accuracy, or confidentiality. Falsifying any records, such as time records, including swiping another employee's time badge, willfully or negligently damaging or defacing university property, dishonesty concerning reasons for time missed from work, threatening or coercing guests, employees, supervisors, or managers, acts of physical violence or fighting, participating in any kind of work slowdown or interference with regular service, failure of employees to report to his or her place of work at the start of a work period, leaving work prior to the end of a work period without authorization, failure of absent employees to personally notify the university of each day of the absence without an acceptable explanation, being absent without good cause, repeated absenteeism, even if authorized or excused, and repeated tardiness, using university telephones for personal calls without permission, failure to inform the supervisor when leaving the workstations or work area, failure to report an accident involving an on-the-job injury or damage to university property, use or possession of firearms or weapons on university property, presence in an unauthorized area of the building, lower level, storage room, etc., carelessness and negligence resulting in damage or loss to equipment, facilities, or products. Also, carelessness and negligence resulting in injury to self or fellow staff members. Possession of unauthorized university property or food in personal storage lockers. Sexual harassment of another. Unauthorized use or removal of university property or another employee's personal property. Improper use of electronic mail or internet privileges. Possession or contributing to the effect to produce keys to operate locks or locking mechanisms or issuing keys without proper authorization.
Hello, I'm Dave Bevan, Production Manager at the Heilman Dining Centre. I'd like to talk to you about safety regulations. Dining service associates must constantly be aware, by law, safety is everyone's business. Any dangerous condition which an employee cannot readily correct must be reported immediately to your manager. Also, any injury received, no matter how slight, must be reported immediately to your supervisor. All associates are expected to be careful and to use common sense. An employee's neglect of the following safety regulations may result in disciplinary action. Please read carefully the safety policy and the statement in the staff guidelines provided by Human Resources. Do not block aisles, stairways, doorways, or heavily travelled areas. Lift with your legs. Never bend and lift with your back. Promptly remove and dispose of food, litter, broken glass, and china from the floor. Clean up all spills promptly. Use wet floor signs. Correctly use and handle all equipment, tools, utensils, and pans, etc. Use heat-resistant pads or dry towels when handling hot utensils, pans, etc. Return all equipment, tools, and utensils to the proper storage areas when the task is completed. Use the right chemical cleaner for the job. Do not mix chemicals or store in unmarked or mislabeled containers. Use the right chemical cleaner for the job. Do not mix chemicals or store in unmarked or mislabeled containers. Do not use empty chemical containers to store food items. Do not overextend arm's reach or physical strength. Ask for help. Avoid collisions when moving carts. Push, do not pull. Never run in any food service area. Always be mindful of any surface you may touch or walk upon, as it may be hot or extremely slippery. Horseplay is not acceptable. Do not ride on carts, glass racks, etc. If you are under 18, you may not operate the slicers, fryers, or any equipment in the areas. Employees who work with slicers will be issued non-cut safety gloves that are required to be worn when cleaning a slicer. Regular cleaning and sanitizing of the gloves is the responsibility of the employee. When opening the lids of the steam kettles, employees are required to wear a steam-proof mitt. When changing the grease in the deep fryers, employees are required to wear full grease-proof gear.
Hi, I'm Claire Niehoff and I'm an intern here at the University of Richmond. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about operating hours. The university's work week runs from Sunday to Saturday. Each associate is assigned a position important to the overall operation of the unit. A regular work year has traditionally run from late August to early May, which incorporates limited shutdown times for fall break, Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays, and spring break. During these periods, scheduled hours may be reduced, and all staff members are advised that regular full-time and part-time hours are available only for the academic year. Employment may be available for staff members for conference and summer school operation. Now I'm going to talk about inclement weather. All university dining service staff, hourly and salaried, are considered essential personnel and are required to report to work during their regular shift, regardless of the university's closing for severe weather or other reasons. Under severe weather conditions, managers will make every effort to adjust work shifts whenever possible. The university staff guidelines defines the university policies regarding absences and pay for essential personnel during inclement weather. Please review this information thoroughly. Call the campus emergency hotline number 289-8760 or listen to local radio or television regarding closing information. And as for closing, a unit's closing time may vary with special events, emergencies, time of the year, and daily routines. Staff will be scheduled accordingly. Staff is expected to work until released from their assigned work area by a supervisor or manager.
Hello, my name is Michelle Taylor. I'm your payroll coordinator. We strongly urge you to sign up for direct deposit because it will be more convenient for you. Paycheck distribution is scheduled for 9 a.m. Friday morning, except for those with direct deposits. The only time this will be altered is due to holiday scheduling. All staff working at that time may pick up their check. Paychecks will be given only to employees unless the employee authorized in writing someone else can pick up their check. Time clock. During employee orientation, you will receive your University of Richmond ID. This ID will be used for tracking your hours. Each employee is responsible for his or her own ID card. Any questions regarding benefits accrual or missing hours should be directed to the manager on duty at that time. Failure to clock in and out may make it impossible for daily time to be calculated correctly. When clocking in, please make sure you punch the in or out button before swiping and even when the clock is offline. Use of someone else's ID for any reason can result in immediately disciplinary action and or termination. If you leave your ID card at home, your manager will clock you in or out on a first occurrence. If there is a second occurrence, you will be sent home to retrieve it. This will be unpaid time. A third occurrence will result in a written warning. Excessive failure to swipe in and out using your ID can cause for disciplinary actions. Using your ID card records your hours worked. The biweekly punch detail report reflects this information and are considered a legal document. Each employee will be asked to review and sign this report acknowledging hours worked per day prior to paycheck distribution. Checks will be issued for unsigned reports, and if you have direct deposit, you must still stop by and sign your report. 2. Each employee is responsible for his or her own time. Last, lost, misplaced, or stolen ID will cost $20 to be replaced.
Okay, I'm back to talk a little bit about what we do in the progressive discipline process here at the university. It's not an easy subject to talk about, but it's important that you know what the rules and the guidelines are so that if something does happen and you're involved in this discipline process, you'll at least know what to expect. Okay? So let's get started. Disciplinary action imposed against a staff employee is generally imposed due to unsatisfactory job performance or unacceptable personal conduct. However, there may be situations of serious misconduct when the supervisor may move directly or to a later step in the process, including termination. Copies of written warnings to the employee will be forwarded to the Department of Human Resources Services for filing with the official employee record. Basically, the progressive discipline progression goes like this: a first oral warning, then a second oral warning, then a first written warning, a second written warning, a suspension, and then, forbid, a termination. First, let's talk about an oral warning. In most, but not all cases, the initial counseling or disciplinary action should be in the form of an oral discussion or a warning. Records of all oral counseling and disciplinary actions will be maintained by the area's director. Written warnings are continued problems that require further action beyond an oral warning. A formal written warning outlines the extent of a problem, suggests courses of action, and the time period for resolution that should be prepared and discussed with the employee. The employee may be required to sign a provided statement signifying receipt to such confirmation. Failure to sign for a receipt may be cause for immediate dismissal, and some actions may be too severe for an oral warning or a written warning in discipline and may start with a written warning. Then a suspension. If something is very, very serious and it occurs, it may warrant that kind of discharge. Then the employee may be suspended pending investigation. Some actions may be too severe for an oral or discipline that may start at a suspension. And then finally, a termination may become necessary to release an employee if they, in effect, will have released themselves by the record they have established. If at any time during this progressive discipline process that you feel like you're being treated unfairly, you do have the option to go to that next person's supervisor, and if that supervisor doesn't treat you fairly in your opinion, then you can go to the next person's supervisor, all the way up until you get to the Director of Auxiliary Services, D. Hardy. If you feel like at that point you're not getting a fair shake, then you're always free to go to Human Resources. In Human Resources, there is a grievance procedure that you can read in the Employee Handbook for more details. But you need to know that there is always an option. Doing performance reviews is an annual process that we use that determines what our annual increases will be from year to year based on our performance. Your performance review is the key factor in accomplishing our mutual growth and profit goals. And career growth isn't based only on job performance and productivity. Appearance, attendance, punctuality, and attitude count. And you and your supervisor will periodically review your performance and progress since it is an ongoing process. You will receive a set of goals in the beginning of the year, a mid-year review, and an end-of-the-year review. And remember, increases are not automatic, they are earned. Dining services depends on the consistent attendance of all employees to function. A point system has been established to track tardiness and absenteeism. This program establishes the performance standards expected and identifies employees whose attendance requires immediate improvement. The following guidelines will be used to enforce this policy, and the performance of discipline is to alter unaccepted performance. To provide an incentive for improved performance, the point tally will reflect only those occurrences within the last 9-month period. That is, when a point becomes 9 months old, it is deleted from the total. This system will be monitored daily, and every 9 months you will have an opportunity to discard your accrued points. Your manager will keep records of your attendance, and all warnings will be automatic. The accrual of points will dictate the actions outlined in the points table. This policy is a guideline. Management's discretion may be used in a disciplinary action given to an associate, and patterns of excessive tardiness, absences, and early departures will be addressed regardless of point totals, such as consistent absences or tardies on a specific day. The point system will work as follows. If you are tardy or you must leave early, you will accrue 1 point. If you are more than 1 hour late and do not call in that you are going to be late, you receive 2 points. If you have an unscheduled absence, even with a doctor's note, you will get 2 points. And if you are absent and you do not call in and do not show up, it is 4 points. The points table. Remember, the goal of the point system is to improve unacceptable behavior and to provide consistent attendance throughout, which makes everybody's job a little easier. The first benchmark of a point system is once you hit 6 points. At this point, you receive a first verbal warning. This is a concern voiced by the employee supervisor to the employee regarding unacceptable attendance performance. The employee is informed that a change in his or her performance is required or further disciplinary action will occur. And documentation that this conversation occurred is recorded and put into the employee's folder. The second benchmark is the 8-point mark. That would be a second verbal warning. This is a concerned voice again by the supervisor regarding unacceptable attendance performance. The employee is informed again that change needs to be addressed and that further disciplinary action will occur. This will go in your file too. At the 10-point marker, it's a first written warning. The employee receives a written letter stating the same information as above, and the written letter will indicate the date of the 2 verbal counselings that took place and that this letter is the third step in a disciplinary process. It will also indicate that the employee is only a new occurrence away from a 3-day suspension without pay. At 12 points, a second written warning happens. The employee receives a written letter stating the same information as before, but this written letter will document all the verbal warnings and the written warning. And it lets you know that you are only 2 points away from a 3-day suspension. At 14 points, when an employee returns back to work, they will receive a letter indicating suspension without pay for 3 days and will be sent home. This letter will reiterate the dates of all verbal and written counseling and inform information to you pertinent to the employee reaching the point in the disciplinary process. Once an employee has been suspended, they will be removed from the point system for 6 weeks of probation. Points accumulated at this time will remain the same, and during this probation, if an employee has another infraction that accumulate points, they will be terminated. At 16 points, if an employee accumulates it to that point after the suspension or during the 6-week probation, the employee's employment at the university will cease and a termination letter will be included in the document summary above. Okay, that concludes our presentation of the Dining Services Employee Handbook. I hope you got a lot of good information out of it. If you have any questions later, please ask me or any of your managers and they'll be happy to answer your questions. So at this time, go to the back of the book and you'll see a page where you sign and put your name on it. Do that, pull it out, and give it to your managers.
Jerry, I'm glad I caught you.
What?
I forgot a part.
What?
They still have a test to take.
Oh, that's right. I'm sure you were paying attention. So we'll now give you the test. Thank you.